Welcome to the magical journey beyond mediocrity, where the mystical and the practical become aligned. You're listening to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success, with your host, Seeker's Guide and coach, Kristen Lloyd. Kristen guides you through mindset shifts to increase your consciousness and live your best life. So let's leave mediocrity behind and step into your magical, magnificent life with Kristen.
Welcome, everyone, to the Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success show. I am your host and Seeker's Guide, Kristen Lloyd. As always, I am so happy and grateful that you've all tuned in for the show. And each week, as we've progressed, I get to talk to some of the most amazing men and women. So far, it's just been women, but I am so excited each week to share the gifts of each of my guests. And I'm, as usual, I'm so excited for today's show. This is episode 12 of the Meant for More show. And today our special guest is Shari Teigman. Shari is a soul explorer, transformational coach, and creative business spark strategist. She helps her clients ditch their groundhog living and find their unique path and voice to a sparked up soul and lit up life and business. She is the host of the Creative Soul Lab podcast and proud single mama of 2 boys. Welcome, Shari!
Thanks so much for having me. Really honored to be here.
I'm so excited that you said yes, and I'm so grateful that you are here because I think you are one cool cat.
Aw, thank you. I'm honored to be in your life in many ways, so that I'm really excited to see this come up and the world getting a chance to get a nice piece of you and really see your magic as well. So,
thank you.
It works all around.
Yes, and I'm so blessed and honored. We connected, I want to say at the end of last year, and Shari is just a light, and she is so amazing. And so I'm so excited to share your journey to more. That is something that I love about this show, is that everyone has a journey to more. Everyone has a beginning where they've recognized, hey, this is not enough. This is not where I'm meant to be. And there's that nudging, that yearning, that desire for more. And so that's always where I like to begin. So if you could share with our listeners your journey or path to more, and was it like one big kaboom, like one big event, or many?
Oh, it was many. One big kaboom probably would have been a little neater, but who wants neat in life? That's no fun.
Exactly.
Right when you start getting your feet on the ground again, there's another bump. My journey is an interesting one. So I grew up in a modern Orthodox Jewish community right outside of New York City, where I still live. And I grew up, I had a wonderful childhood. I went to great schools. I had great experiences, but I learned at a young age that my light may have been a little too bright for the life that I was living. And so I guess intuitively, I would say probably about age 4 or 5, started to turn the volume down on what my magic was. And it wasn't for any reason or, any abusive situation. And I always find it important to let people know that sometimes we derail ourselves in our life or get derailed, not because of some massive trauma, but just because we're taught to fit in. We're taught to march in line, and it just looks like it would be more comfortable than choosing our own way. And in my case, that was the case. So I did what I was supposed to do. I was a good girl in school. I went to college. I got married at 22 to a guy that I knew from my community. We had gone to camp together. And from the outside, I had a very idyllic life. And from the inside, my soul was nowhere to be found. I was very extroverted, still am. Bubbly personality, head cheerleader, but there was a disconnect from the inside. I didn't feel what I looked like I acted. And it was very confusing for me because I didn't understand where I was inside of that, and I had no idea how to go find that. So fast forward, I married the wrong guy and entered into a 12-year marriage that was I would like to say just like the squeeze of the polishing of the diamond that really led me to go search for my way home. And I have two beautiful boys. And while raising them, I was basically a single mom even within my marriage. And as the years went on, I found myself getting more and more lost. And I remember a moment where I was looking back at a video of, I guess, one of my kids' birthday parties or something, pictures and videos I was just going through. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I was always busy with my kids. I ran their PTO like the real Stepford wife. Like, again, from the outside, it looked perfect. And, you know, I don't do anything halfway. So it was all or nothing. It was Little Miss Perfect. And I caught a glimpse of myself in one of my kids' birthday party videos. And my eyes were completely dead. Now, Kristen knows me. I have like very sparkly eyes. I say eyes are the window to the soul. My eyes really are very lit up. You can really see my passion for life in them. And so for me, it was very extreme to see them completely dead. And it scared the hell out of me. And I'd love to say that there was an aha moment where I just knew what to do. I didn't. I just knew that I couldn't teach my kids that this is what life looked like, and I couldn't teach my kids that this is what marriage looked like. So I guess my soul took over at a certain point and took me on a very dark and bumpy road, asking for a divorce, a very long, drawn-out, arduous divorce where I lost all of my identities. My mothering got challenged. My role in my community got challenged. It was a real storm, and I guess I chose it for a reason. And it washed off all the stuff that I didn't want. So that was about 7-8 years ago. And then when the divorce ended, I'd been fighting for survival for so long that the come down from that staying in fight or flight mode kind of bottomed me out. So I call my kids my lighthouses because there were times, and many times, where they were the only light that I saw, where I knew what I didn't want, but I had no idea how to go find what I did want. And I remember a moment where I was literally laying on my floor because I couldn't even make it to the bed. And I looked up and I said, God, universe, whoever's up there, if you help me get up, I vow to never let anyone feel this alone or misunderstood or lost again. And from that day, it just started. I found yoga. I tumbled into the rabbit hole of life coaching. I think I couldn't even handle the silence of my own head. So I always had something running in the background, either music or a TED Talk, and somehow stumbled on a telesummit that somebody was doing. Never heard of the coaching industry, the self-help industry. I mean, I was in therapy at the time, but it was mainly just diving back into how did I get here? I had no idea how to turn myself forward. And I just started exploring. I started coming back home to myself, and layer by layer, I went deeper and deeper, and I found the source of who I am, and I just turned it back on. And since then, I feel tears in my eyes saying this. I cherish every day so much. I adore my work. The fact that I have been where my clients have been, both in their life and business, keeps me very humble and keeps me very on task to never get ahead of myself, because you can't rush somebody's journey. And while I'd love to save the world, that's not fair to their process. So I just love to meet my people where they are and help them see the blind spots that they're not able to see and really find their own magic again. So I never thought I would say this, but I truly am so thankful for every hard day that there was, every lost moment that there was, every confused process that I went through, having no idea, thinking, am I going crazy? Because you can feel like that when you're not sure who you are anymore. But I never would have taken this road without all that pain. So that's how I got here. Here's where I am.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And gosh, I just keep thinking of like the expectations, because that you endured over that time, over everybody else's expectations until you said enough.
Yes. That's exactly it. And it's very confusing to understand when you're so used to hearing voices from outside of yourself, to understand whose voice is whose, what's real, what's not, what you should follow, what you should not. It's very noisy. It's very confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I have a client right now who is struggling with finding her own way in her family, her parents, all these external voices are like, just get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You have this degree, just go get a job. And she went to school because they wanted her to. And everybody, they paid for school, very expensive school. We're talking graduate school.
Yeah.
And she's realized that's not what I want. And that is a very different from your situation, yet similar, because it's the expectations of other people saying, okay, we helped you down this road. You've got something to fulfill, all of these expectations. And I think for any of our listeners who may be in a similar situation, sometimes that can be a whole lot of pressure. And when that's not something that lights you up, gets you excited, there's more than just the internal resistance. It's totally out of alignment.
Completely. And I agree completely. And what's interesting is even the way you said it, your voice almost lowered when you said, but that's not what I want. And that's exactly what it feels like from inside. It's not as loud as the other voices. It's this tiny little niggling thing in the back of your head that's saying, hold up. Your soul speaking to you saying, whoa, that's not our road. And it's very scary to say that out loud, or to understand that it may be okay to not want what everyone else wants for you. And I say to people all the time, I talk about this a lot on my show, is when something's objectively wrong from the outside, if it's a very abusive relationship you're in, or a job that you hate, or something that's dangerous, everyone rallies around those people and says, go find your dream, or somebody's homeless or finds themselves in, a real rut. Everyone is behind them for them to succeed. But when life looks good from the outside, you almost have to apologize for wanting something more or different than other people want, because it's what it comes down to is it's actually most of the time not even personal. It's just, don't move a spot on the chessboard, because then I have to redefine who I am. Like, I know through my divorce, I walked away from a lot of friends as well, because my wanting something more for my life was almost offensive to them, that I would step out of line. Like, well, if you do, what's wrong with my life that I have to look at? And people are very uncomfortable with that. And I think it's important to say that to the audience, that wanting more is okay, and other people's reactions are theirs. And it may be very much out of love, that they're just trying to keep you safe, but that doesn't mean that they're right or that they're wrong. It's just from their perspective where they're looking.
And it's so funny, because I heard what came up for me as you were talking is like, Shari, how dare you deny the white picket fence?
Yes.
You should be grateful. Like,
exactly. People strive their whole life to do this. You are so lucky to have it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's so condescending.
Yes. And it's just fear-based. So much of our lives, again, even out of love, it doesn't have to mean that someone's trying to hurt you. Most of the times it's out of love, people wanting to love you, where they just don't, like, whoa, where are you walking to? That is a minefield out there. Don't go out there.
Right. And it's your path. It's your path to take. It's not theirs. But just like you said, people don't understand, because then they have to look at themselves and say, what's wrong with my life? But that's the reflection, and there may be nothing wrong with their life, because that's their soul's journey. Your
Precisely.
Soul's journey is taking you somewhere else.
Perfectly said.
And that's so important, I think, is that so many people don't dig deep enough within themselves to say, is this what I really want? And I think the perfect word to sum it up is autopilot.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, I don't even know if it goes that far, that they know there's a place within to ask a question.
True. I think that we are, for lack of a better term, programmed, just because, well, I've been in personal development for a very long time, but when you saw yourself in that home video, it was like a snap or a click or something that said, wait, and then that led you to digging deeper.
Exactly. And it was a petrifying moment, one I'll never forget, and one I am so grateful for, because We can't see outside. If your face is right up against a wall, how on earth are you supposed to get perspective? So much of the work that I think both you and I do is pulling the camera back and looking from different angles, not because there's an answer that needs to be given. It's just about opening eyes to see what else is there and then getting to choose. It's not right or wrong. It's just what else is possible. And that question opens up everything.
Right. Right. Oh gosh, this brings up something else. I had a client yesterday and this is so amazing. So she said something like, I don't want to fit in the box. I don't want to fit in everybody's box. But yet her phrase that she used, she said something like, but I also don't want to be a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was this interesting dichotomy of, well, I'm a feminist. I don't want to be in the box. I want to stand up for myself, but I don't want to be a bitch. So and the reason I bring this up is because so many, and I'm going to talk about women more specifically with this, but I don't want to be in the box. I want to be who I am, but I'm afraid to be who I am because then I could be characterized as this, that, or the other, and then I won't be accepted. So then I have to go back to the box to be accepted. So do I want to be accepted or do I want to be authentic?
I love that whole conversation. I'll tell you why. People constantly talk about not wanting to be in the box. They know what they don't want. They don't know that most people by nature will then just go look for another box. So they need to define what the outside looks like for them, that what's possible, learn the lay of the land, learn which direction they want to go, because people will move from one box to another box because it doesn't feel safe to not know. So it's, those
or to not be protected by a box.
Exactly. And it's, even like I laugh. This was a few years ago, I took my kids away for the weekend to about an hour and a half away to the New Jersey shore by the beach. And there's a big conference center there. And unbeknownst to me, there was a massive tattoo convention that weekend. And it was amazing because I have never seen anything like this, up close. I mean, people had their entire head shaved, covered from head to toe in tattoos, little kids with tattoos, families. And I found it so interesting. Like, I like to teach my kids about other people. So other people, I go, oh, you went there? You didn't leave? I'm like, they're not going to bite me. They're human beings. And of course, we made friends. And it was really interesting to learn because it was like observing like a tribe of people. And it was so interesting to me from like a sociological perspective. I have my degree in sociology. So it's like, I just look at the world that way naturally. These are people who in their minds see themselves as outside of regular society. And what did they do? They went and made another community of their own society. So it's just human nature that we want to belong. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we all want to find our people. But when you move from one box just to not be in that box, not because you want to go somewhere else, it can feel very scary and very out of alignment, like you said, because they only know what they don't want to be. They don't know where they do want to be. They're just so busy fighting what they think the norm is that it's almost not helpful because it makes them more jaded and more closed off from what else is possible because they only know what they don't want.
Right. Right. Instead of what they do want.
And to explore the opportunity to say, maybe I just don't know. Maybe I'm just seeking. And we know you are the seeker's guide. And that's exactly it. I think that's so much of the deep work that you do, that it's not about finding an answer. It's about finding the magic within the search.
Yes, I completely agree. And what's also another caveat to that is that I've also had quite a few clients who, when you ask them what do they want, some of them don't know. Some of them do know, but it scares the shit out of them because it's so far from where they are that they look at this long road, and they just kind of curl into a ball.
Yeah. And then they get angry at themselves for wanting more, wanting to bother. Like, what am I doing to my life? Why am I stepping out? And then they start beating themselves up about, why can't I just ever be happy? Where they forget that that was a clue from their soul to say, go, look, turn a corner, open a door. It's just, no, get back in the box. And you go through that inner battle of which way is going to win, because it doesn't feel safe to try new things, and it doesn't feel safe to feel stuck either.
Right. Right. So on your journey, when you were listening to TED Talks and kind of getting into the personal development world, how did you figure out what lit you up? Like your passion, your purpose. How did you finally figure it out? Other than the deep work, because we all know the deep work is so necessary.
Yes. Again, I wish it was a nice, clean answer. I am a jaded New Yorker. I've been through a lot in my life, so it takes me a lot. And that's not true. It used to take me a lot to convince myself of things for the same reason that I'm talking about. I knew what I didn't want to be, and I didn't want to get caught in something again. So for me, for so long, it was like the freedom chase. Like nothing's going to trap me. Nothing's going to box me in. I'm not going to fall into a hole again, which kept me from finding my way for a while because I'm stubborn and scrappy. So it was difficult for me to open up and choose to be happy. I'm going to say a lot of trial and error and learning to trust my intuition and learning to listen from a different place within, not listening from my head, listening to my heart, listening to my soul, listening to my gut about what felt right and what didn't, and not judging things that I thought would work and wouldn't. We go on that like search of this book is going to be the answer, or that coach or that mentor or that public figure, because they look like they have it all figured out. And then you find that their coat doesn't fit you either. Yeah. So it was really just building my own set of tools and knowing that some days some would work and some days some wouldn't. Trusting the journey that hard days come. They still do. I'm human, and now I know to learn from them, but to know that they move through faster and I can learn lessons from them. And I was at a lecture last night. This woman does logotherapy, which is a therapy based on Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, Holocaust survivor, incredible psychiatrist and neurosurgeon. And his whole thing is about that life has meaning. And in many of the romantic languages, she was talking last night, she's from Israel, and there are two words in Hebrew, which are probably similar in a lot of other languages. Someone said in Italian and French, it's the same. I'm assuming Arabic, of course, because it's so similar to Hebrew, that the word lama means why, and lema, same letters, just a little different like intonation, means for what. And to take the question of why me, that victim question, and instead turn it to, what's this for? Like, what can I learn from it? What's it bringing up for me? Why is it being brought into my life? And when you change the questions that you ask yourself, the answers become more possible to find. When you're constantly asking why, you're looking down. When you ask lema, when you ask for what, you look around and you get answers from the universe. You get answers in people, in books, in words, in a sign, in a song. And all of a sudden it becomes an open conversation. And, you can look at it from a woo perspective. You can look at it from a practical perspective. But if you have blinders on and you're only looking in one direction, you actually can't see anything else. So I had to learn to crank my why open, and I had to learn to remove my blinders and trust that other things could be possible. And that's really still to this day, 7-8 years later, is what I do every single day.
That's amazing. I love it.
And I feel so blessed doing my work because, frankly, I get as much from my clients as they get from me. I'm in a search every day, and I know you feel the same way. Like, what a beautiful thing to be part of other people's journey. And, of course, our clients bring up exactly what we need to work on in ourselves as well. So to have those conversations is such an honor and a privilege. It really is.
Right, because as they evolve, we evolve as well.
Completely, and it becomes this open back and forth flow of energy where it's a cranking open of minds. And, we're all part of one. So it's not my story versus your story. It's your version of something that I want to learn in the world.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We are all connected. We are this big collective, and our stories are woven together.
Completely. And it's, there are also people who are brought into our lives. I mean, the internet has helped so much. Like, how would we have ever met otherwise? And we bring so much to each other's lives by being in it. First of all, knowing we're not the only ones on a search, which to me, community is massive.
Yes.
I honestly thought for the first 33 years of my life, I was the only one like this. I didn't know anyone else. So I thought I was broken. Now I'm surrounded by people who are just like me and different than me, which means we're all searching. We can support each other. One hand down up the mountain. I reach up to your hand. You reach down to my curve. I mean, it's just this beautiful flow of acceptance and welcoming and understanding that so many people don't have in their life. And that, I think, is a massive first step to be able to get where you want to go.
Yes, completely. And I think you're absolutely right. For a while, I felt the same way. And it's really interesting because I had a dinner party, a couple months back, and I was with a bunch of women who were not coaches. And I said, I'm really struggling with this self-doubt thing, and I think all people do. It doesn't matter what your job is, but just what you said a little while ago that, people look for the next shiny object, the next coach who has it all together. And as much as we have it, as much as we may have it together or look like we have it together, we're still human. We still have flaws. There's still things that we're working on, myself included. And so I'm at this dinner party and I'm talking to my friends and I'm like, I'm struggling with this self-doubt thing. And they're like, duh. And I mean, they were from all different careers, not necessarily entrepreneurs, not necessarily, definitely not coaches. And they looked at me like I had three heads. They were like, honey, that's just part of life. And I was like,
don't
really?
step out of line. We're supposed to struggle and then complain about it.
Right? And I wasn't, it's so funny because I wasn't complaining. I was just like,
yes.
So how do we get past this? Because in the personal development space, like that's what we do. So it was so larger than life. It was so much bigger in dealing with my clients and then myself. And then it was just funny how they reflected it back to me like, oh, that's like normal. That's like getting your period. That's like, it's like, oh, really?
Exactly. And we have phrases for things. And it's, it doesn't mean you only stay within your zone, but it just shows once you do find your people and you do speak a language that's comfortable for you, how much other people are missing that. And, I feel for them because they don't know what's possible. And that to me is so important that's why I have a podcast. That's why you have a radio show. I say this all the time. Not everyone's ready to have the conversation, but they sure are ready to hear it and know that there is more that's out there.
Right. Right. And more in the definite self-defined more, whatever that is. My more is not the same as your more, which is not the same as, somebody else's more. Everybody gets to define it.
Exactly. It's not about the sameness because you and I both know that we don't believe in it, but it's let me go on my lane and honor me and be proud of me for my wins, and I will do the same for you. Or I can learn from what I see from you. And even, it's a noisy world out there. So I learn a lot what I don't want from watching other people. And I've learned to understand those are signs for me to say what's out of integrity for me. How does this connect to the values that I hold in my life? Without judging them, they're just signs. They're just clues for me. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to have them placed in front of me to sometimes annoy me, sometimes inspire me, but it's all the same thing. I get to learn more about myself. I get to go even deeper.
So true. So true. And I love a few years back, I remember I had learned something from a colleague where she said, because I was working, now I don't even remember where I was, but I just remember there was cattiness and there was this reflection of like, that doesn't resonate in authenticity. And I have loved this quote or phrase ever since. Whatever doesn't resonate with you, not doesn't resonate, but whatever you're, let's say, jealous of or dislike in someone else is a reflection of something that's incongruent in yourself.
Absolutely. And even just from a scientific perspective, the reticular activating system in your brain, like this isn't even woo, this is science, will
Right.
bring to you what you're focusing on. So if you are looking to be triggered and you are believing something in yourself that is not true, you will be brought it right in front of your face over and over and over again. And that's so much of like the mind training that we have the capacity to do. Everyone has this availability, even if it feels scary, but we bring right in front of our face what we need to learn, good and bad.
Right. Right. Yes. So, so true. So this journey is not a hop, skip, and a jump, and it's not, this straight path. But if there were three or more important characteristics that a person needs to start their journey to live a soul-filled, lit-up life, where would they start? Or, maybe not characteristics, maybe it's tools. What do they need to begin their journey?
I would say for everybody, number one across the board is curiosity. I'm a big believer in curiosity because I think that's the precursor to any work we do, to be able to open up and try new things. When we are not curious, that curiosity gene kind of got left in kindergarten in the playroom, unfortunately for most of us, when rules in life hit us. And we forget that it's okay to want to say why, like a little kid, over and over and over again. But why, in a playful, open way. Like, what else could there be? What's around that corner? What's in that door? We get so closed off to other possibilities because we're so busy staying on track with what we're supposed to be doing. Even when it's something that we love, we forget to keep exploring. So having that explorer's mind, because most people don't know the answers. And even with that age-old question, but I don't know my passion. They see people like us so in our zone, so loving what we do, forgetting that we weren't always here because it scares them. And the way we got here is by wanting more. So in order to want more, you have to be able to ask the question, is there more? You have to be able to say, can I be more? Can my life be different than this? So once we avail the possibility of that curiosity to be the driver in our life, that to me is the number one point of readiness. Number two, I would say is, it goes along line with curiosity, but being open to trying new things. I've tried a million things that didn't work. There wasn't one path for me to get here. I fell, I stumbled, I tripped, I faltered, I got bruised, I got battered in the middle of it. It's a bravery and courageous thing, and not from a bold place, but just that bravery that says, okay, I'm going to get up again. I know I'm going to fail if I don't try. I can't give myself the possibility of failure, of succeeding if I'm not willing to fail, because I can't tell you what's going to work, but I can tell you not trying won't work. So having the, I guess, tenacity and maybe a little scrappiness within you to say, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm really going to do this, whatever it brings me. And to know that you're not going to die on the journey. And I don't say that lightly because it can sometimes feel like that when it feels unsafe. And my last one that I'll bring in, which may be a little unexpected, is to be playful. This stuff doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be scary. We all have dark places, and it's fun to shine light on them and open them up, because what most of us have done is drawn a monster on a paper and then become scared of it. When you shine light on it and make it playful and laugh at yourself and make things funny, make them silly, bring joy and fun back in your life, it makes it less scary to go into a haunted house. If you were afraid at Disney World of the haunted house, forgetting that it's not real, who the hell would ever go in there? You would never go in there. But when you know that it's playful, you know you can test your boundaries, you know you can make something fun on your terms, then it loosens the glue of where you're stuck to say, hey, it's just going to be fun, whatever it brings me. And those are really like three of my pillars that I stand on, because they've led me all the way on my road. They lead my clients all the way. And the seriousness, we got ourselves stuck in a serious way. Using those same tools are not going to get us out.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Curiosity, the explorer's mind, trying new things, having bravery and courage, and the tenacity and being playful. I think that that's so important because I love what you said about being playful because so many people take themselves way too seriously. And it's like life or death. And for some people in our space, it's like, okay, so you got some Facebook ads, so they didn't work. Okay, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes so serious, like it's not brain surgery.
And when we believe that it is, then there's no way we can ever change anything.
Right. Right.
And when it's this daunting task in front of us, why would anyone step forward? Like, life's hard enough without that. I don't need more. But when it's like, wait, maybe life doesn't have to be hard. Maybe I can be and feel something different. Who wouldn't want to go through that door? I don't know anyone.
Right.
If you can be guaranteed that something fun will come out of a journey, whatever it looks like, I'm down.
A total perspective shift.
Exactly. And then it's just like, it's a softening.
Yeah. I love that. And I love your term. Now I cannot remember what it is, but scrappy. I love scrappy. I love scrappy. So these are the three characteristics that somebody needs to begin. What, and of course this may change from person to person. So I'm going to just ask it to you and then everybody can ask themselves, all the listeners, what are your three characteristics of what a lit up life means to you?
Oh, I love that question. For me, a lit up life means, number one, a life on my terms. That in every day I get to decide who I want to be and what my life's going to look like. I like variety personally. So and like I said earlier, trapped is like a trigger for me. So if I see myself doing the same thing every day, that makes me feel trapped. I know for some people that comfort works for them. I need the variety in my life on my terms so that if I want to have a quiet day, I can sit and go to yoga. If I want to have a lit up day, I can go run around in the park. Again, for me, playfulness is a big thing in my life. So feeling lit up for me is knowing that I get to decide and I get to change whenever I want. I don't have to be anything unless I decide to. And that brings a real freedom for me. Another version of lit up life is being able to impact others. And again, that's my answer. Knowing that I've found these answers for myself and learn the ways to help others find them. My work is so fulfilling for me that I'm in such a place of joy every day. Like I will hang up with a client and I will literally have a dance party. Like being so in my purpose and in my mission is so meaningful for me. And I know not for everyone is their career matter that much, but then find a hobby, find something in your life that makes you feel like an excited little kid on Christmas morning, because that energy, that vibe is what changes everything. And knowing that that's in my power to create over and over again is really what drives my business. You think I love selling and marketing? I don't. Maybe some people do. I don't. But the fact that connection drives me and I get to do that every day, and the more and more I build it, I get to do even more. You can even hear it in my voice, how lit up I get about it. And I would say third is just finding meaning for me. So being a mom of two boys, single mom of two teenagers, everything matters to me. Every moment, every meal that I serve them, every conversation that I have, I live very intentionally because I've built this life myself. So knowing that I created it and I didn't just land in something keeps me on point to remember what means things to me, and the things that don't matter get let go. So for me, it's not about being right. I don't have a great relationship with my ex-husband, so it keeps me very present to remind me of where I want my focus to be, how I want my life to look. Things are not always idyllic, and it's important, just because like you said earlier, just because we're in the self-development world doesn't mean things are always peachy keen. It means that we are on purpose and on task to make sure that our lives are what we want them to be. So I make sure to keep those lights on and to change those bulbs whenever they need it.
I love that. One of the questions that popped into my mind, because as you were talking earlier and you said when you saw yourself on the home video and then you didn't want your kids, your boys, to see the example of not being lit up. You didn't want them to see the example of this being a marriage, this being what marriage should look like, this being what life should look like. How has that changed you as a mom? And how do you parent differently now that, if we say now that you're lit up versus then, how has that changed? And I've seen some of your videos where you guys have the dance party. I think I saw one where I cannot remember the song, but it was like that one where you stop and then everybody goes like,
we're ridiculous. The Harlem Shake. We're ridiculous.
The Harlem. Oh my God. It was amazing. You're like the coolest mom ever.
I am ridiculous by choice. Well, that's not true. I am ridiculous by nature and I embrace it by choice. I want my kids to see that playfulness is a driver in life. So I had my kids very young and they're my best friends. So it makes mothering a lot of fun for me. And I have taken the stance in me as a mother. I flat out say this to them. You have my trust until you lose it. Please don't make me a battle axe mom. I want to be fun. I don't want to be, the ruler of the house. That's not my personality. And thank God, knock on wood, until now it's worked. They're my friends. They respect me. They honor me. They've seen me morph and change. They saw me at my lowest and they see me at my highest. And I think that society teaches us that parents are supposed to be a certain way and our children are supposed to see us a certain way. And I know for me, and I'm not saying this for everyone, that it would work. My children learning what a human life evolving looks like has been a great gift for them. They've been through adversity, going through the divorce, and it's made them stronger. And it's not something I ever wanted to put them through, but it's been the greatest gift in all three of our lives. So they call us the Three Musketeers. They cheer when I get a new client. I'm very blessed. I have wonderful, loving children, and I can't take all the credit for that. I mean, God really blessed me. I just try not to get in their way. But it was just Mother's Day a few weeks ago, and the cards that they write, they value who I am as a person. My 16-year-old will write to me, you deserve what you're bringing into your life. They get it because I don't pretend to know everything. I mess up in front of them. I teach them the lessons as I go, well, that didn't work. And that's bringing up these feelings for me. And for some people, that would be too vulnerable and open. And I understand that. But I think because they've been through so much with me, I can't really lie and pretend to them that the world's this perfect place, nor would I want to, because it wouldn't prepare them for what life is. And so last year, my son was struggling a bit in school, and he started high school and was a big switch from elementary. And he was in that stage of teenage boyhood. I hate my teachers. I don't care about anything. And I said, cool, awesome. Here's the deal. I don't care about your grades either. I did well in school. It didn't help me in my life. So while I think school is important, I flat out said this to him, and I said it to his teachers. I don't care what the actual number is. I want you to know that you worked and showed up for yourself, and that whatever it looked like was a result of you putting the time and the effort in for you. Not because the teacher was grading it, not because you were going to be right or wrong, or because you spit back information. I don't care about any of that. I don't want you following anyone else's rules other than yours, while being respectful and maintaining order, of course. I mean, he's a calm, quiet kid, so you got to know who you can say that to. But find that place in yourself which self-motivates you. Press it often. That's all I ask of you. If you don't like school, awesome. I don't know many people who did like school. Find some hobby outside of school that I'm happy to help you nurture. He likes photography. I got him a camera. He wants to learn to play guitar. Nurture the parts of your children that will fuel who they will be later, because it will help them regardless of what they're doing. And when that happens, the rest is magic, because the rules, we're trying to grow ourselves, and then we're teaching our kids what we learned. So it's like they're going to get in that same traffic jam that we did. So I'm very intentional about how I mother them, because part of me goes on autopilot, and these are the rules and you're supposed to listen. And then I stop and say, wait, am I letting them be individuals? Am I giving them the space to make mistakes? Am I letting go of the leash enough, which is hard, to let them fall and get up by themselves? It's a balancing act. It really is. And again, I'm very intentional about it, and I just want every day to be fun. And I know it's working because a few weeks ago, my son's a sophomore in school, had like this petrifying pre-college conversation. And I'm sitting next to him, and he's about 1.5 feet taller than me. And our legs are up on the chair in front of me. And I looked over him in the middle, and I said, I have no idea what they're talking about. And he looked at me, where other mothers would never say that. And he looked at me and he took my hand and he's like, we got this, Mom. We'll figure it out. And it was like he gave the gift back to me. Like I taught him that, and I forgot it in the moment, and he reminded me of it. And it was such a gift to say, okay, I'm not totally screwing this up, which we never know as mothers and fathers.
Which many mothers and fathers don't want to admit.
Exactly. And then the kids know and but no one's talking about it.
Right. Because the model that we've been shaped to, like the torch that we're supposed to be carrying is, pretend you know it all and bullshit your way through it. Like, just you're supposed to know. Like there's no book, but you're supposed to know. And so I think what you're giving them is the gift of, hey, I don't always know, but I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got. And I think that's an amazing gift for us to teach our kids in the new generation, because the previous generations, there's so much pain of perfection.
Yeah, and the rules, and it's so tiring. And it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, not knowing whose voice is whose. So how could I teach my kids that I know everything if I don't? That's not true. None of us do. We have no idea what's coming.
Right.
That's so it's, teaching them that tenacity and that playfulness of let's make it up as we go, because that's what we're all doing anyway.
Right. Right. So here's an important question. Does everyone who wants to be lit up or live a lit up life, do they need a business to do it?
Absolutely not. Building a business and a life together is a very brave, crazy entrepreneurial thing. I recommend it to everyone just because I think it's the best way to heal everything in your life, because everything will come up. But no, absolutely not. I would say 50% of my clients are non-entrepreneurs. To live a lit up life, you have to want one. That to me are the only parameters that are included. So I have clients who are stay-at-home moms. I have clients who are corporate dads. I have people who aren't even parents. It's just that wanting more, because when you can color in the lines of what your life looks like, it impacts everything else without you having to try. So if you're working on yourself and you turn all those lights on, I can guarantee you your work environment will change tremendously. And it doesn't mean you have to pack your bags and move to Bali and leave everything, because you're going to take all your problems with you. So I'm not a big proponent, although I'm sure it's beautiful there. If you're stressed out, you're not going to notice. Your relationships will change. I don't call myself a marriage counselor. I don't call myself a career coach. I don't call myself any of those things because I don't have to. A lit up life means lighting up whatever parts are dark. So wherever your spots are, wherever your pain points are, when we can work on them together, they end up lighting up the whole house.
I love that. And, whenever you're talking about going to Bali and you take everything with you, wherever you go, there you are. And your stuff comes with you. Your baggage, right?
I mean, that's a lot to schlep on a plane. I would venture to work on it at home and go with one knapsack when you're ready. Unpack first.
Exactly. Okay. What are, we might have already covered this. What are 3 to 5 steps that someone can take to start building a lit up life? I asked about characteristics earlier, but what can someone actively do to start living a lit up life? If somebody says, okay, this show, and Kristen and Shari inspired me today. I want to start living a lit up life. What do I do to start doing that? How do I start like right now?
This is a tough answer that people may not like. And I think this is something very common in the self-help world of just putting pretty layers over a broken foundation. So although it sounds like I'm all sunshine and rainbows, I'm not. I do the deep work. The first step is like when you're in an amusement park and you don't know where, and you're trying to get to the one ride you want to get to, but you don't know where you are, you have to go to the map. You have to figure out where you are now. So it's finding that here you are and unpacking the bag, like I just said, figuring out what it is that isn't working, what it is that got you there, what are the triggers, habits, and patterns that are keeping you repeating that same thing. And it's because it's a scary piece, a lot of people like to skip that part. But if they skip that part, then it's going to come back in other ways. It's going to creep into another window. So again, it doesn't have to be scary to do it. You can do it in a playful way, but figuring out truly what's working in your life and what isn't in the moment is the first thing to get started. Once you figure that part out, then you can start building, figure out what would I like my life to look like instead of this. So it's asking that what's possible, that what is all this for? What are the lessons that I've learned? Who am I? What are my strengths? My principles that I stand on, things that matter to me, things I want to bring more of in my life. Really almost like intentional life mapping. And then going and building it. So it's really, I would say it's getting unstuck, getting on track, and then getting lit up. You can't skip to the lit up part because the bulbs won't light up. You got to check the wiring first.
And I love the part about being unstuck, because I think that there are many people that don't even recognize that they are stuck.
Yes. And stuck doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just a point of reference. You're getting a baseline read here. That's what you're doing, because you won't notice the changes in you if you don't know where you started from. We're always looking for more. We forget to factor in how far we've come already. And, celebrating those wins at each turn, when you made a different decision in the moment, when you responded differently to something that is a trigger. You have to know what they are in the first place before you can change them.
Very true. Very, very true. What do you see as a common denominator in your clients? Like, where are their biggest problem areas?
I think one of the biggest problem areas, and I work, like I said, with a variety of people in their life and in their business, but what I still see as a running thread throughout is unintentional living, having no idea how they got where they are and having no idea where they're going. So many of us try to rev up faster in order to get where, quote unquote, we think we're supposed to go, but they have no idea where they are or what it looks like or how they got there. So it's like, just hamster wheel, running in a circle, Groundhog Day, speeding up to try to make it stop hurting, or so that they don't feel something, or that pretending. So it's like, first, everyone has to lift that like vellum layer and say, whoa, just stop for a second. I know stopping is scary. I know slowing down is scary. But that's the only way you're going to figure out what's in your toolbox. You don't want to carry around someone else's tools or broken things that don't work. You want to be effective.
Yeah. And I love that you highlighted slowing down, because I see that very thing in my clients too, is that they think that by speeding up or going faster, that they can sweep things under the rug. And it's like, no, we have to bring those things out in the open and deal with them.
Yeah,
and
society has really taught us like the hustle, like just push through. You can do this. Don't be weak. Whoa, that makes no sense. It does, and it doesn't work. Right.
It's counterintuitive. Right?
Yeah.
They think hustle through. But are you not that we're slowing down. I think that so many people think that slowing down means experiencing the pain more. Like, okay, just hit me with the morphine. Like,
Exactly, right. So it's slow. A lot of people speed up so they don't feel it anymore. The pain hurts. But like I said before, we draw that monster and then we get scared of it. So when you slow things down, you can actually unravel and see that the scary monster is far less scary than you've been running from. It's like, oh, that's what I was scared of all this time. I'm not saying there are not things to be scared of, but when you have an open conversation with that fear, it softens because it's generally just yelling and banging so loudly because it wants to be paid attention to, not because it's actually going to kill you.
right. I love the onion metaphor. Like we're peeling back the layers because the other one is that, oh, let's just cover it up. Let's just, cover it up and keep on going. Or it makes me think of like burnt toast. Like, okay, let's just scrape off the top.
Perfect. I love that analogy. It's perfect. Yeah.
It's like that doesn't make it, you're scraping off the burnt part, but it's still burnt toast.
Or like just picture you like chewing like I said I was eating breakfast. It doesn't have to be bitter.
Right. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. I could go on talking to you for hours because I think that there's so much meat here. It's so meaty.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
What? I'm sorry.
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. It's such good stuff. And I think that we've given all of our listeners some really practical steps to take today. Where can people find you and connect with you and tell us about the Creative Soul Lab?
Sure. So all of the Shari things, so many things. I have a podcast myself, which is a variety show, a mix of what I like to call Shari ramblings and interviews. It's on Google Play, iTunes, and on Stitcher, and it's called the Creative Soul Lab. You'll see my colorful picture pop up if you look for it. My website is ShariTeigman.com, and I have two opt-ins that I think the audience would. One is a business one, and one is a life one, and people are open to either of them. You can sign up on my list and get them sent over, and then as well be on my newsletter to hear more news. So one of them is actually something we were talking about. It's a 3-part audio, actually called Getting Unstuck, On Track, and Lit Up in Your Life. And for the business peeps on the line, I have a new opt-in that just went up that is taking your business plan from a 2D look view to a lit up legacy, and really how to dive in and use your creativity and passion to create the business that you really want to be in, not just, plugging through, not be the worst boss you ever had. You can find me on Facebook. Shari D. Teigman is my Facebook page, and if it's okay, I'd love to offer any of the listeners, I would love to offer a 30-minute, can be pitch free if you're not looking to work, you just want to have somebody to talk to, phone call with me. You can hop onto my website and just fill out a form. I just love souls, so for me, it's not always about making someone into a client. It's just letting people know that someone's there to listen and have the conversation. And sometimes one little conversation can shift something for somebody. And it's an honor for me to be able to be that shift. So I'd love to offer that out to people as well.
I'm so glad you did. I love that. And just because I made the mistake, I want everybody to know Teigman is T-E-I-G.
Thank you. Everybody makes the mistake. My entire life.
So that if they're not like, this domain is not, exactly. Not clear.
It doesn't exist. It was all a mirage.
So I am so glad again that you've come and that you've shared your story. I know that every person that I bring on has had a very unique story, and this is one that I think I really love because it resonates with me so much, just like we were talking back in the beginning of, and I'm just going to use the analogy of the white picket fence. Everybody thinks like, well, why, that's ungrateful. Like, why would you change anything? But I think that this is a conversation that needs deepening, that we all, and I'm so grateful that you shared this today, because that's not, authentic for everyone. And that's not what everybody's dream is. And so your courage and bravery to step out of the box and to not put yourself in any other box and to really explore the courage, the bravery, the tenacity, and to utilize your scrappiness to grow into the person you've become is so rich. And I'm so grateful that you've been able to share that with us today and that you share that in your work, because you're such a blessing.
Thank you so much. It was truly an honor. And I love these kind of conversations. And like I said earlier, if it's one little trigger that one person says to another person that sets off a firestorm in their head to get ready to go, just you and I, we have to keep talking. It's not always, about the clients. It's about the conversation. It's about letting people know that these things are not more than okay to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you, Shari, for being here. Thanks everybody for listening. It has been another fabulous show. To continue the conversation, hop on over to the Seekers group on Facebook, www.facebook.com/groups/The Seekers Path. Until next time, you are meant for more, and keep seeking.
Thanks for tuning in to Meant for More, the Seeker's Guide to Success. But the fun doesn't end here. Head over to KristenLloyd.com for your Seeker's Guide workbook filled with exercises to help you go from mediocre to magically magnificent.